Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode. I have the pleasure of introducing an entrepreneur who is not only building thriving communities and ecosystems across India, but has also made a profound impact on the entrepreneurial landscape of the nation. Ashutosh Kumar is a co founder of Jagriti Yatra, an extraordinary initiative that takes young entrepreneurs on an 8,000-kilometer journey, fostering innovation, experiential learning, and entrepreneurial spirit. The vision has grown to inspire countries like France, the UK, the USA, and has been recognized by the President of India and the Asian Voice Charity Awards. With a strong foundation from IIT Kharagpur, Ashutosh's journey is one of resilience and passion. Whether it was shaking up Chennai's theatre scene or nurturing entrepreneurs in Bharat through Jagriti Enterprise Center in Purvanchal, he is also the author of 2.2, a book that dives into friendship, love, politics, and life's deep questions, all while exploring the gray areas of right and wrong. Let's dive into the mind and journey of someone who is truly embodies the spirit of innovation and leadership. Ashutosh Kumar. Hi Ashutosh, how are you?
Hi, Sagar. Thank you. Thanks a lot for inviting me. I am doing very good and hope you are also doing very well.
I'm excellent. I'm excellent and looking forward to uh, diving into your journey. Although I've been fortunate to have been associated with your initiatives. Directly, indirectly. I've been I've been to the yatra. I've come there and facilitated and taken some workshops, and then and we have sailed through the pandemic, also experienced digital yatra, and then again how it picked up. So just wanted to first of all acknowledge that it's very difficult. Many people wouldn't understand this, but I just wanted to share with all the global leaders, because through this podcast, a lot of global leaders would be watching it. So I really want them to know that to build what you're building is really really it takes a lot of hard work and efforts. So Ashutosh, lovely to have you. Just a quick question, just wanted to share with the audience is that you know what how Jagriti Yatra has changed you as a person, as a leader, uh, and just before that, just give a quick introduction about Jagriti, although I have given, but in your own words.
So, in my words, Sagar, it would be that what Jagriti is trying to do, we are building ecosystems. We firmly believe in this concept of ecosystem. So, we are trying to set up those ecosystem. It's entrepreneurship and innovation ecosystem with a focus on what we call Middle India, which stands for the tier two, tier three India, Bharat, also as we call it, because we believe that the entrepreneurship has still yet to reach there. There is a lot of talent, leadership potential in that Middle India, the young people, the women, all of them, but the ecosystem is missing. So under Jagriti, we are trying to build this. We have different initiatives to achieve this. Jagriti Yatra, as you said, is one of them, which is a beautiful and experiential train journey where we take 500 young people traveling across the country and understanding about entrepreneurship. What we are now attempting, and in Purvanchal or eastern Uttar Pradesh, is setting up a regional ecosystem to support local entrepreneurs there. So these two initiatives combined form Jagriti, and then we obviously have a future vision on how do we want to take this in a movement form to all parts of India.
Great. So, Ashutosh, I just wanted to know, where do you see the future of entrepreneurial communities going? Number one, in India, and let's say in the Asian context, or if you have some insights on the global context, happy to get your views.
So my view is that, Sagar, that the conversation about entrepreneurship needs to move to what we call Middle India, and also there is a middle world or middle globe. as you can see, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
essentially the theory is that, there are people who are at the top of India who have got bank accounts and they are fulfilled, they don't need any support. There are roughly 800 million people in this middle that I'm talking about, the tier 2, tier 3 India, who have got food on their table, they have got roof on their head. So they are now looking for what's next in their life, what they can build, right? And then obviously there's a India which is really at the bottom of this diamond, which needs still a lot of government subsidy, charity intervention, etc. So we focus on this middle. So this whole conversation about entrepreneurship needs to move there. We should push there, because in the tier 1 India, there are startup ecosystems, there's a lot happening there, there's a lot of excitement and support and everything is available there, but this middle India is still lacking. So I strongly feel the conversation uh, will move and is moving towards that middle India, where we are talking about how we can build incubators, how we can bring mentorship support, how we can bring market connects, how we can bring funding to those entrepreneurs in the middle of this India. So that's my feeling and my wish, and that's where we are also working towards.
So if the top India, or the, I would say, the entrepreneurs who are contributing, or the business leaders who are contributing in the top India, if they were to learn few skills from middle India, what would be they? Like, where do you see, they doing excellent? Like, मतलब हमको सब कुछ सीखना ही चाहिए. होता क्या है,
Right.
आशुतोष, and the reason I'm asking you this question, हो गया, what has happened is, uh, it was Jagriti that made me understand, my yatra made me understand that लिविंग इन मुंबई, लिविंग इन दिल्ली, बैंगलोर, मतलब हम भ्रम में जी रहे हैं. ये मुझे
Hmm.
यात्रा में समझा. ओके.
Right.
Because our mind has been trained to think, let's say, think like Westerners, but our behaviors are Indian, right? In the process,
Right.
we have, I mean, and this is a serious problem, because I'll tell you, when I take up a lot of workshops and when I interact with a lot of Gen Z and millennial talent, I see they're lacking a complete perspective of
Hmm.
how real Indians think, right? So I just want you to break it up and share maybe a couple of skills that we must really look at, learning from the Middle India.
So I think one thing we are learning, if you go to this tier 1 India, the startup world, the conversation usually starts with funding or investment. Where is our investor? That's where the people or the entrepreneurs start thinking about. And if there are no investor, they would not shy from dropping the idea altogether, because they will feel कि idea तो काम करेगा ही नहीं, we are not getting investment, most of them think. But in the moment you go to the middle India, that's not really the way they are thinking कि where are we going to get investors, where are we going to find funders. Rather, they would put their own money to start, bootstrap as we call it, because they believe in that idea, right? They know that this they have to work, this has to work for them. And for many of them also, it's about their livelihood. It's not a really a fancy idea or a choice that they are making, like many of the people, those who are in the tier 1, for them it's a हो गया तो हो गया, नहीं तो ठीक है, we'll go back and do something. But for those in middle India, this is a karo ya maro situation. They have to do this, right? And hence they put their effort, their money, their whole and soul into this. So this is one. The second is the conversation about exit. Again, the entrepreneur sitting in the tier 1, the first thing they put in their business plan is ki exit, हम कब इसमें exit करेंगे so that the investors are benefited. But in middle India, that's not the conversation. The idea is that how long you can stay put in building that enterprise, right? How you, and there are stories, I mean, right from, you see Haldiram, and there's a ghari detergent from Kanpur, and all these examples, they have built their enterprises. They have not thought कि हमको exit करना है. Because the moment you start thinking about exit, then you see कि अच्छा ठीक है, नहीं होगा तो we'll again do something and we'll just dump it down. So I think one is the not starting with investment, not thinking about exit from day one. And the third thing I would also say is that people, right? Because in middle India, mostly the entrepreneurs are very people centric. So They also think how we can bring our families together, for instance, in this enterprise, because I alone can't do it. And historically also in India, if you see, family based enterprises have been really our strong pillar, as in many of the Asian economies as well. If you go to South Korea and other countries, you will see it's really family led, against the western thought process where it is very individual led, कि आप अकेले कीजिए, फैमिली वालों को दूर रखिए, अदरवाइज वो मिक्स हो जाता है, right? But India, that is not the case. If you go to a woman in Devariya, for instance, where we are working, the first thing she would say कि मैं अपने घर से अपने पति को, अपने भाई को, अपने हस्बैंड को लेके आना चाहती हूँ in this enterprise. So this thinking about your family, about your community, about your people is something also we also found a difference in the way middle India is thinking about entrepreneurship. So these three things I would recount right now.
Nice, nice. Thank you, Ashutosh, for summarizing it beautifully. And I think, somewhere it reminds me that even if when I was reading a report, and I create also reports. So the top two reasons why any business succeed, is one is the timing and the other one is team. Second
Hmm.
one, and
Right.
less all are the other logics that come into play. And when you say that the middle India has a mindset of being inclusive, of taking care of community, in a way they are a part of a bigger team. In fact, their immediate team members are also like a, in a way, personally I don't like to use the word family, but what I'm meaning here is that family like concern they show for each and every stakeholder, and that is teaming up with in a sense. So thank you for highlighting that. Now just turning the question, what are some of the skills that middle India can, in the process, can look at developing, if any entrepreneur from our JY network, or for that matter middle India, is watching this, maybe what are some of the skills, you can just share that, hey, like, maybe you could just, these are some things that you can look at.
Yeah, I think I would not say that there is some serious gap there. It's also a lot about context, Sagar, the
Yeah.
context in which they have been brought up, what have been they have been exposed to.
Hmm.
That's also informs their behavior, right? So in Yatra, for instance, when we bring so many people coming from Middle India, they have never been exposed to this type of program or this entire country. So I would say it's lack of exposure, uh, which uh, uh, which is a serious gap there. If we are able to give them enough exposure, if they're able to see how the outside world functions, they will automatically learn a lot of things from that exposure. So things, for instance, matlab, they may or may not be important, but the whole idea of communication, right? How better you present your idea, right? How you take it to the public, how you take it to the market, that's also an art and an important part of running your enterprise. So to some extent that may not be so much visible in the middle India type of enterprises, but yes, given an exposure they would easily pick that up. So broadly I would say if there is enough exposure given to them, they can pick all the skills we feel that they are lacking right now.
Yes. This reminds me of a couple of examples wherein Yatripreneurs were part of Shark Tank,
Ah,
which happened. So, would you like to share some of those things? Because, I mean, they really proved, why Jagriti Network is playing an important role in India. Would you like to share
yeah.
some of those? Yeah.
No, thanks for bringing that up. I think that was a very amazing moment for us as well, and that was a surprise for us as well because we didn't know that these yatris are going on Shark Tank and they are going to mention about Jagriti Yatra when they are on Shark Tank, right? So that was a pure delight and surprise to all of us, but good to see them. I think one thing that brings out is, and many of them have expressed that the fact that Yatra as a platform allowed them to connect with the right person who then could come as a co-founder, as a team member, or even in many cases as a mentor or maybe investor, right? So this is essentially what Yatra has given them, and that's how their journey started. And by the way, many of them who could not make it to Shark Tank, they also had a similar stories, right? They found their team members, etc., on the yatra, and then their journey started. So that way I feel very blessed that at least the whole objective with which we started yatra, that we create a platform which is not like a very narrow or shallow networking platform where you go and just exchange your cards and you feel ho gaya hamara connection. But this is a platform where you really come and you connect because of the story of the person, right? Who that person really is. uh,
Mhm.
and and you are able to connect, right? So that the whole idea of connecting people with each other, not in a networking conference type of fashion, was the aim, and to large extent now we are achieving through the yatra.
Thank you, Ashutosh, for sharing that. And story reminds me of what inspired you to write a story 2.2. And first of all, I'm really interested to know why this name 2.2. Like I was still wondering. I got your book. It's there, top there. It's there. The
Acha,
first book is your 2.2. So I'm just
right.
first of all, I want to know what is 2.2.
Yeah. So actually, the name derives from. So first of all, the story is set in the background of my college, which is IIT Kharagpur. It is from the era of 2000, 4 to 7, when I lived
Ashutosh,
there.
don't call it era. We are still young. Don't call it era. No, no, please go ahead. Go ahead.
So yeah, 2004-7. That is the background in which this story has been written. And inside the college campus, we have a very beautiful circular road, which is 2.2 kilometers in length. So that is usually called 2.2 by all the students of IIT Kharagpur. So that's where I picked the name, and there is some philosophy behind that. How I felt this road, connects all the key milestones within the campus. And it also in some way connects the students with each other. So that's why I picked up this name, 2.2.
Okay. And can you share some of the philosophical aspects that if you're like,
Right.
I got the mind and the soul behind it, but want to explore
Yeah.
share that more.
Sure. तो उसमें सागर ऐसा था कि दिस इज समथिंग आई हैव बीन lately reading, thinking about for last many years. And this whole idea, or the question that arises in many of us: what is right, what is wrong? And
Hmm.
it often leads to a lot of moral dilemma कि हम करें कि नहीं करें, क्या सही है क्या गलत है. And at a young age, when you are in college, right, these dilemma could be really heartbreaking for you, right? Because you may not be able to easily find your answers if you don't have the right person to approach or the right mentors in your life. You are crushed down by these questions and these dilemma. So that is the key at the core of this story or this book, that how do we perceive right and wrong, and how we can overcome this whole dilemma of choosing between right and wrong. So, through four characters that I have uh, partially invented, and partially they are based on real life people. So these four friends who have a good friendship among them, there is some love relationship as well. And then there is this whole background of politics at IIT Kharagpur, which is very interesting, which is not like the JNU or DU type of politics. Obviously, it's an engineering college politics, but even in that background, how they are navigating this whole dilemma of right and wrong is something, the core philosophy of this book. Yeah.
Nice, nice, nice. And what are some of the challenges as an author? Because if I'm not wrong, this is your first time, like you've written this a book for the first
Yes.
time. So, would you like to share with aspiring authors, because people are wanting to write book, and some of the learnings that you can share can help us craft our story well, or some of the things that can be avoided because you have already taken this journey of writing.
यार ये सबसे टफ पार्ट है सागर, टू शेयर all these things. because when you go through the journey, right, you're just going through the journey. You don't try
Hmm.
to see कि क्या काम कर रहा है क्या नहीं कर रहा है. But let me just try to share some of the things that I have felt. One is the whole, at least, and this is true mostly for the stories, the fiction writers, because I can't comment really on the non-fiction side.
Hmm.
So this story, for instance, which I wrote, is actually, it kept on bubbling inside me for good, I would say, 3 4 years or maybe more, right? So genesis of the story was almost 6 7 years back. Something happened at IIT Kharagpur that led me thinking about this story. और फिर
Hmm.
धीरे धीरे build होता गया. I always thought I will take a pen and paper and start writing, but it never happened for 3 4 4 5 years almost, right? It just kept on bubbling bubbling bubbling. वो build होता गया, build होता गया. So I think that is the first thing I would say, ki don't rush into putting things on paper or on your laptop or computer. Just wait for the story really to build up and emerge from inside you, and you will automatically get a calling. Ki now it's time to start writing it down, right? So that's one point I feel is important, at least for the first time author. Maybe आप जब 2 3 बार लिख देंगे तो this process will be further shortened, and you can quickly write after thinking. But initial, give time to your thinking and building the story. The second thing is obviously, which we have read and we listen at various forums and from many people, that consistency is the key. Writing every day is very important, and I have had those periods जब मैंने लिखना ही छोड़ दिया था, you not writing, just putting the pen to the rest, and then it was so difficult to come back and start writing it again. So this habit of writing every day, whatever comes to your mind, is I think is really, whoever has said and many have said, is absolutely true. There is no denial from that. And the third thing is also, at least I have found with my writing, it may not be true, everybody has to find their style, that though I created a structure in the beginning, chapter wise, ki chapter 1 2 3, and these are the things I have to cover in each chapter. But when I started writing the chapter 1, and towards the end of chapter 1, I realized this structure is not going to work. वो भूल जाओ. And you just keep on writing as and when things are coming, and you just keep on writing, the structure will automatically emerge, and you have to just follow that. It's like that कि आप एरोप्लेन से कूद जाओ, ठीक है, और देन यू आर नाउ ट्राइंग टू ओपन द पैराशूट. वो पैराशूट खुलते जाएगा एंड देन ऑटोमेटिकली यू विल लैंड. सो बट अगेन, मतलब एज आई एम सेइंग कि दिस इज व्हाट वर्क फॉर मी. कुछ लोग के साथ हो सकता है कि आप पहले से अच्छे से स्ट्रक्चर बना दो, एक फ्लो बना दो, एंड देन यू आर फॉलोइंग दैट फ्लो. दैट मे वर्क. इट डिडंट वर्क विथ मी. I just followed whatever kept coming to me. And lastly, I would say that you need some good people around you while writing. Obviously those who can really support you, otherwise it feels like कि आप कोने में बैठ के कुछ लिख रहे हो, क्या कर रहे हो. You need to really involve or enroll rather some people in your writing, and in between also you keep on talking to people, sharing. For instance, one of my good friends from IIT Kharagpur, Adarsh Shekhar, I kept going back to him lot of time discussing the story. अब इसको आगे कैसे ले जाना है, क्या करना है, and he was absolutely helpful to me throughout the this journey. So yeah, these are some of the insights.
So, would you like to share, at least for the audience, one chapter? I know there are so many chapters, but any one
Yeah.
chapter, which made you, I don't know, which made you cry, which made you laugh, which made you, I mean, like you experienced a range of human
Yeah.
emotions that one could experience. So it would be great to know
Yeah,
that.
I will actually just read a small snippet from one
Okay.
of the chapter which I find very funny. So this is the book, this is the cover. नहीं
Yeah.
दिख रहा है.
नहीं, वो एक्चुअली हाँ हाँ दिख रहा है.
हाँ, blur हो गया, ठीक है. तो इसमें एक बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग this chapter where I am talking about how the, and this may be true for every college, every engineering college for sure, across the country, that when the students graduate from first year to second year to third year to final year, right? So I have tried to create a parallel between that journey of a student to this concept of पुरुषार्थ, राइट, जो हमारी फिलॉसफी में
Yeah,
पुरुषार्थ
yeah,
है,
yeah.
and in a humorous way. right?
Yeah.
So basically, KGPNs, the residents of KGP, the KGPNs spent their 4 years in a vain pursuit of Purusharth, the object of human life. In their first year, the aim was to erase the haunting memories of Irodov, which was a physics book, with the pleasures of standing under a tree where they could meet a girl. The attempts to achieve the first goal, calm, were made in classes, in labs, at dance or dramatic society, and anywhere which allowed the opposite sexes to come together. By the time one came to know that this goal could be achieved by anyone except the freshers, it was too late. The
Mm,
second year was when they dedicated themselves to the pursuit of the second goal, dharma, their duties towards their own hostels and conduct before other hostels. The illusion of walking on a righteous path was soon shattered by the dip in the CGPA at the end of the second year, so grading
mm,
CGPA. With a pragmatic outlook, they entered into their third year, trying to gather means of life or earth, the third goal, repairing their CGPA, pleasing the professors who could fail them, collecting bullet points that could be added to their CVs, writing others' names on the khatas at the canteens or stationery shops, and begging, borrowing, and stealing undergarments to class notes were some of the hunter gatherer activities they indulged in to lead a meaningful life. And the final phase, an urge for liberation or moksha, however, overwhelmed them as soon as they entered into their fourth year and final year for the lucky ones. The pursuit of their final goal, CGPA was a Maya, became their tenet. Everyone got a job in the end, even if it's Infosys, became their belief. These souls aspiring for liberation preached the concept of Purusharth to everyone, especially the freshers, preparing them for the next 4 years. And the cycle continued. So, this is the snippet from one of the chapters in the book.
wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for reading out. So, Ashutosh, you have been somewhere in what I learned from you. In fact, even the conversations we have had is that uh, how in today's time, based on your experiences, how and why community building or community leadership is very important or is very critical. The reason I'm asking multiple dimensions to this question, but the ground reality is that apart from be it work or be it the entrepreneurial work that or the business that we conduct, the human society, all of one and soul, with 8.3 billion people on the planet, are people feeling lonely. People are feeling lonely with 8.3 billion people on planet. So, from that lens and with your experiences, why do you feel, or rather, do you really feel that having a community or building a community is important?
Yeah, I totally agree, Sagar. Building a community, I mean, that is what human beings have been doing since their beginning. If you see, that's how we have grown, that's how we have lived together by building communities. It could be
Yeah,
based on your ideas, hobbies, it could be based on your similar interest, college community. So there are various types of communities, but it's very natural for us as a human being to connect with each other and build communities. And really to go to others, be vulnerable to them, share everything with them. So, and this is all the more now becoming important because, as you are saying, if there are 8.3 billion people and all of them are feeling lonely, then the task of building communities becomes even more important. And I think in today's age and DNA, it's also that because of this whole virtuality that all of us are pursuing, it also allows you to just be behind the screen and then that's it. But essentially, the physicality is important, right? Because when you are sitting with a person face to face, meeting the person, talking to them, That also is an important part, physicality of building the community, I feel. I mean, virtual communities are also there, no doubt, but the physicality just adds to it, just makes the community more robust, as we have seen in this middle India type of geography. So I think it's really important. And also with more nuclear families now becoming, especially in the urban areas, this community is very important. And one thing I just want to reflect, you said that, the word family, when we were saying, you said ki it's a family like concern, right, rather than family,
Hmm.
which is true actually what you said. And hence there is a word I just reading by this person called David Brooks, who said kinship is actually the right word. So you are forming kinships with people around you. They could be your friend, but there's a kinship, right? So it's a family like concern, what you are saying. So yeah, as long as you are able to build those kinships and build community around you, you are really safe. And obviously that's pretty very much important. Yeah.
So, any advice and suggestions to young leaders who are, be it at any be it in Middle India or otherwise,
Yeah.
because they are so busy in building their dream. Often they have to do some uh, they have to do some compromises, be it terms of their sleep cycle, in terms of maybe at times, when this is the fact I'm just sharing, sometimes they have to even compromise on ethics, because I've seen it, like I'm sure you would have also seen it all. So any suggestions that some of the mistakes that can be avoided, or some of the common uh, areas that, with your inputs on how what can be done, plus how they can create support for themselves.
Yeah, I think this creating support is important, and that's what I wanted to share as my first point. That find support, and find mentor. Basically, it could be somebody
Mm,
from your family, it could be even your friend, it could be your professor, your teacher, it could be anybody, right? But having that person with whom you can share very openly, without any filters, is important, because in this age of filters, all the insta filters and all I'm referring to, you need to just get away from that and be very open. So I think that is without doubt, is really required. The second thing I also want to say, that one of the lessons, at least of entrepreneurship, has been that how much with commitment you can do something, right? And which is a function of time, and which is a function of your effort that you are putting in. Because again, in today's time, as we see, there are abundance of opportunities. It is perceived, it looked like there's an abundance of opportunities, and hence people think it's easy to keep on jumping and switching from one thing to another thing to another thing, right? Which you
true.
can do, but at least giving some good time, some committed effort and time to one endeavor for some period is very important. Because unless you do that, you will not really understand what you are liking, what you are disliking. Often we are just, we see something on the social media and feel कि वाह ये अच्छी चीज है, मैं ये कर लेता हूँ या कर लेती हूँ.
Mm,
You jump,
mm,
and then you say, oh no, this is looking much better, मैं ये कर लेती हूँ. So what this hopping on is something I am finding is nowadays very common. But the age old wisdom of, staying committed to something for some time at least of your life, is, I think we need to bring that into bring back into vogue today, right?
mm,
वो जरूरी है. So mentorship is important, being committed to, and something means it could be your endeavor, but also it applies to your relationship and everything in your life, right?
mm,
Because that's also demands a lot of commitment from each one of us. तो in every
mm.
sphere of life, अगर थोड़ी commitment आप लेके आइएगा, तो that will help you grow. And lastly, I think point I would say, again, going out of this virtuality, bring physicality into your main room, meet
Mm.
people, meet face to face, community बनाइए अपनी, तो that will really help you. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, of course, of course. I mean, there has to be a good balance, because I mean, the world is also shifting. A lot of AI integration is happening.
हाँ.
Talk about may, we I mean, I mean, average user, average, I would say, digital user, they are using 3 to 4 hours of their cell phone. So any which ways, virtuality, uh, not directly, but there has to be an intentionality in being physical, because any which ways we are, 6 to 7 hours or 8 hours we are glued. Even if, let's say, today, we are connected for a podcast, but if not podcast, then what? Meetings, right? So definitely, there has to be an intentionality in ensuring that, we are committing these many physical hours. And in fact, I would put it this way, that definitely there is a hybrid model that is available, or there
Hmm.
is a remote model that is available, but intentionality will ensure that you're optimizing and using it, so that if, let's say, you are in Mumbai, Ashutosh, then also the work in Purvanchal must happen, or if you're
Yeah.
in Pune. So thank you for bringing that up. Also, Ashutosh, what are some of the skills of the future that you see, that be it, let's say, we are in 2024, and with the rise of AI integration, and now AI are also using now, all the languages in India. I mean, almost they have covered about what, 30, 40 languages you can actually use it. But apart from that, be it any soft skills, or any other skills that you feel, or there's, it could be some timeless skills. It is important
Hmm.
1,000 years ago, and it will be important for the next 1,000 years. Your views there?
Yeah. I think more than skills, Sagar, I feel it's important to transform your being, right? Because once your being is transformed, then it everything becomes so easy, so natural to you, right? So
Hmm.
while obviously acquiring some skills like building the right mindset, building the right attitude, etc., or building a capacity to learn as much as possible, those are some of the skills which are definitely required for the future, right? It can't be just जो आज हम कह रहे हैं कि आपने graphic designing सीख ली तो you are now for future. It's not going to happen. But how much you are quickly able to learn, right? So then, even if it is graphic designing, you are learning new things in the designing, and you are evolving yourself as the time proceeds. So these are the skills required, but I now put uh, above skills this thing about what I call being, right? Ki how do you transform your being essentially, so that acquiring skills or anything becomes very natural to you. And usme there are few things I have been now uh, learning myself and practicing in the last few months or year. So one is definitely, I feel, is integrity, for instance, is very important part of your being. And essentially it means ki if you are saying something, if you are committing to something, if you are declaring something, then how committed you are to that thing, how much you are honoring your own word, right? And if you are not honoring, how much you are communicating that to any person who is going to be affected by your dishonoring. So that integrity is very important, because see, in integrity, what I have seen, the moment you start breaking down, not honoring your word, you start dismantling yourself, right? Your being starts getting dismantled. आप अपने साथ ही dishonest हो जाते हो, फिर दूसरों के साथ क्या होगे, right? And I'm, by the way, not perfect. I'm also learning. I I lose my integrity many a time, but I also try to then restore it very consciously, that I know. So so integrity to me is a kind of super skill, or is a part of being that one should definitely exercise. um, then also, now and this what I'm going to tell you right now, I have seen, at least in our founder Shashank, through which the yatra and this JCP, what we are doing is about creating, right? How do we create just with our sheer imagination and willpower, right? Things which do not exist in this world so far. And
Hmm.
that creating something does not require always physical materials or resources. It starts from here, right? How do you start creating that thing here, and then it manifests into the real world? And I've seen
Hmm.
with both. I mean, with the yatra, this was essentially first created in his mind, and then it got translated into the physical world. This 6 acre incubation and innovation center that we are setting up in Devariya, which is unheard of place, right? Nobody knew कि देवरिया कहाँ है, क्या है, कहीं कोने में है. वहाँ पे to imagine such a beautiful center to come up was first created in his mind, right? And then with integrity he just pursued it, and we were obviously we were supporting him, helping him, going ahead. But this act of creation of something by your sheer integrity is something which is a very important part of your being, and everybody should try to see हम कैसे अपने अंदर वो लाएं ताकि we can bring. And today, and it has been always, I think today is the time where Sagar ki the problems that we see around, right, the situation rather we see around is such a huge scale, right? India में देख लो, बाहर देख लो, we don't have really the time to think small. We have to think really big, and if you want to manifest big things, it starts here, right? How do you create, how do you then move with integrity, how do you bring other people together? That's also a big skill, right? कि many a time we move selfishly कि हम कर लेंगे, हम founder बन जाएंगे, and we will get all the accolades. But this act of bringing people together and then moving ahead is also a part of that being. So yeah, so I'll stop here.
Wow, wow, this is called gold mine. What you just mentioned in the last 3-4 minutes. Of course, the entire conversation is a big gold mine. But what you just said, integrity and rather rather than creativity, I think you shared creation, which is so important. So maybe let me dive further here. If a young entrepreneur who is listening to this, or for that matter, an entrepreneur from any age, right now, entrepreneurship ageless, isn't it? Now, because of the rise of middle India, we see people in their 50s, 60s, or whatnot, building their companies. So, can you share few steps based on your learnings on being for how they can create and how they can integrate integrity in their lives? Some
Hmm.
steps, if you could share, baby steps, it could be baby steps.
नहीं, so integrity में तो really there is a baby step. It's actually not about any big step. Integrity
Okay.
is very simple कि if you are just saying something, you honor your word, come whatever may. And if I mean if there's extreme situation you are not able to honor your word, ठीक है, आप कम्युनिकेट कर दो सामने वाले को कि मैं आप नहीं कर पा रहे हो या जो भी हो रहा है, तो बट डू दैट विथ ऑनेस्टी. दिस इज द ओनली स्टेप in integrity, I feel, right?
Hmm.
You say something, you honor your word, and you will feel that you are now full with integrity, you are wholesome, you are complete, आपको ऐसा लगेगा. तो वो है क्रिएशन की जहां तक बात है, उसमें भी हाँ बेबी स्टेप यही है कि again you if you imagine something, right, I want to do this, I want to pursue this, take it to the finish line, finish it. उसके बाद अगर वो फेल हो गया तो फेल हो गया, उसके बाद if you want to dump it, but have the courage. So creation का बहुत बड़ा part है courage, right? So
Hmm.
with courage you go to the finishing line, not thinking about what your family is going to say, your relatives is going to say, your friends, society is going to say. You take it because you created it, you started it, you have to take it to finish line. So यही दो बस है, I would say, as a baby step.
Mhm. Okay. Thank
जैसे
you.
बुक
Thank
के
you.
साथ, sorry, I just want to say, वैसे बुक के साथ भी that was all in my mind. I never thought कि इसको बेस्ट सेलर बनाना है या फिर इसका कल को वेब सीरीज बन जाए. All those things, it actually never came to my mind, मतलब not as a very serious thought. The only thing in my mind was कि if I have started writing this book a year back, which happened and more than a year now,
Yeah, yeah.
I have to just finish it, right? I have to go to the last word of the last chapter. That's it. उतना कर लूँ बस मेरे लिए बहुत है. तो yeah.
Thank you, Ashutosh, for sharing that. Also, let's tap into the aspirations of middle India and entrepreneurs. For that matter, again, it could be relevant even to entrepreneurs in the entire Bharat in that context. So, uh, there are some ground challenges which I'm sure you're helping them, and the team is also helping them. Is is the social acceptance of starting something of their own. Maybe that could be one concern. The other concern could be the the time frame or the timeline or the burn rate. Maybe I have this much capital and this much time, and I have to build something in this much time, a particular time and a particular capital. That could be the second challenge. And the other challenge that I could think of is their own, basically their own not being in the context that you said, that maybe to an extent of self rejection or self sabotage, or maybe a falling into a loop of comparison around, maybe this startup is doing good or I am not doing good. So I'm just pointing out, just so that if the viewers, if they are listening, and if they are in this journey, because I think this is something which happens to almost all entrepreneurs, including entrepreneurs in Bharat, when they're in their stage one, or rather stage 1 to 2 in their building stage, right? But with
Hmm.
specific to Middle India, they're so, because they are so, I would say, I would not shy away from sharing this, that they're more hearty. They have more
Hmm.
heart, and for
Hmm.
that it works for them also. But at the same time, these emotions can work against them. So I just want you to share your views, so that they can sail through the important period of the first 6, 12, 18 months, if they have taken the plunge. Yeah.
Yeah. नहीं, good point, सागर. और उसके लिए मतलब I can share with you at least what we are trying to do to
And feel
stabilize
free to
the.
also feel free to share some of the success stories, or some of the stories from the enterprise, so that it can help them.
Absolutely. So yeah, so what I can share is what we are trying to do to stabilize them for first 6 to 9 months or a year, uh, which is, as you rightly said, is an important part of your whole journey, right? So again, in the context of Middle India, I we strongly feel that the physicality matters, because for these people, this social perception that you said, right, कि आप अपना enterprise चला रहे हो, you are not going for a sarkari naukri, government job, and you are
Hmm.
doing something which is so risky. That perception के against you are trying to do something. Now how you can break that, वो और वो जो व्यक्ति जो चला रहा है enterprise, that person is unable to break, right? Because उसकी कोई जल्दी सुनेगा नहीं, he is the one, who is on the sides. So that's where, I mean, in our case, for instance, if an organization like Jagriti is physically present, at least in this part, and when we are going to community and we are telling them about how good work this entrepreneur is doing, or going to the family, and we have done that many a times. We have spoken to the family members of the entrepreneurs, and we have told them how wonderful work this entrepreneur is doing,
Hmm.
this person is doing. Then we felicitate them, we do events where we invite them, acknowledge them. तो इतना कुछ करते हैं, तो then this whole perception starts becoming better. Then they see, okay, now my person is getting so much of recognition, तो कुछ तो अच्छा कर रहा होगा. तो at least वहां से we are able to break, and that is only possible because we are physically present there, right? It can't be done virtually with Middle India, right? तो हमारे लोग जो हैं, our whom we call udyam core, so they are like the frontline soldiers of enterprise, people like Vishwas, Anand, Shilpi, Abhishek, Satyasha. These are some of the champions that we have on ground who are leading this, and who are connecting with entrepreneurs on day-to-day basis. So that's really one thing, how we are trying to break the social perception, and that is in the end, Sagar, मुझे लगता है middle India में that's the biggest challenge to be solved, right? क्योंकि
Hmm.
अगर आप कंपेयर करो सरकारी नौकरी versus this entrepreneurship, right? Sarkari Naukri has been given such a limelight. So many benefits are associated with it. So much of comfort is associated with it that everybody is aspiring for. How can we make then entrepreneurship so aspirational, right? Which to some extent in tier one में काफी हुआ है startups में, and because we have all these most of the stories coming from the West as well, Steve Jobs and Mark Zuckerberg, right? तो we see कि wow, मतलब that is aspirational. So middle India में अभी वो stories भी उतने powerful नहीं है, अब धीरे धीरे आ रहे हैं. People like I see Ritesh Agrawal, Oyo founder, coming from a village of Odisha and building this whole Oyo Vijay Shekhar Sharma. All these people have come from very humble and middle India background, and now they are building this. So those stories, when they start coming, then this will become more and more aspirational. Once it becomes aspirational, then you will see, people coming and doing this. So at least we are trying to solve that as a big problem. And then obviously the other challenges, like ecosystem के जो होते हैं कि फंडिंग वहां पे हम कैसे लेकर आए, because again investors are concentrated on the tier 1, right? वहां पे अभी कोई जल्दी जा नहीं रहा है. Then how do you bring market connect there? How do you bring mentorship there, right? So person sitting in Mumbai from a certain domain, how he or she can be connected to this person so that they can support you. So yeah, that's my response.
Yeah, no, no, that's well put, Ashutosh. Thank you for sharing that. And what are some of the changes that you have noticed in Middle India since the start of this initiative? I mean, any observations pre-pandemic, post-pandemic, in terms of growth, in terms of any other aspect? Would you like to bring that up?
Yeah, I mean, one change that has happened post pandemic is obviously that the realization that you need to be in your own place and do something rather than migrating to a big city and doing some lowly job there. That realization has dawned upon people in middle India to a large extent. Matlab reverse migration bhi hua hai, people have come back again working there. But still I feel that this realization is growing in the people that हम जहाँ भी हैं वहीं पे हम अच्छे से काम करें, अर्न करें, फैमिली के साथ हैं, कम्युनिटी के साथ हैं, and that's how we can grow. And some of the other pioneers, Sridhar Vembu from Zoho, who is really advocating for this type of building ecosystem in rural India. या और भी ऐसे काफ़ी सारे लोग हैं जो इसको कर रहे हैं. तो आई थिंक post pandemic probably that whole thought process has been accelerated. Be in your
Hmm.
place, try to do something. वहां भी पैसा है, वहां भी कम्युनिटी बिल्ड कर सकते हो. But more than anything, you can derive a lot of joy by doing something for your own place and your own community, right? So wo,
Yeah.
at least we are seeing a shift. We are also getting a lot of requests from entrepreneurs from outside, if they are from Devariya and the nearby region, that we want to come back and work for this place rather than working in Bangalore, Mumbai, or some other place. So I
Yeah.
think that is a good shift. It's not fully there, but slowly moving towards that. And hence we need more of these ecosystems like Jagriti. अगर आप imagine करो इस तरह के ecosystems, पूरे 700 से ज़्यादा ही districts हैं. हर district में if you are able to create one such small ecosystem, you get start getting the talent back, people back, and then they will take the onus of building their own place.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Ashutosh, for putting that up. Also, what is the best way to connect with you? Number one, and how do one get the copy of 2.2?
Copy to yaar, it's on Amazon, so you can easily go and buy it. It is there. And yeah, you can write to me. My email ID is I can share here. So it's ashutosh@jagriti.org, and you can always write to me, and I will respond back to you.
Thank you so much, Ashutosh, for joining in, sharing your views on Middle India, your views on future of communities and the importance of communities, and also sharing some relevant references for us to go back and introspect on, and also sharing a wonderful snippet from your book. I think and also sharing the challenges and best practices for first time authors if they are looking forward to create. I'm sure with the rise of chat gpts, a lot of folks are writing book, and I'm there leveraging that.
Acha.
But I think you wrote it just before the rise of ChatGPT, so I
Yeah.
think the credit, you must get that credit, because I recognize that. I recognize that, and always a pleasure interacting with you, Ashutosh. I think we periodically connect, but I think what I love is that whenever we connect, it's very natural and organic. So, thank you, Ashutosh, for being here and contributing this initiative. And the goal of this entire initiative that I'm building is to give a platform to wonderful leaders around the world, trying to leverage this medium in the best way, which also makes reminds me that you know the physical meet also has to happen. So I'll keep
Ah,
that in mind as well. And thank you for putting your thoughts. And I think the biggest learning for me as well, because I was listening as a 6-year old child, is integrity and creation. Of course, thank you for prioritizing it in the minds. When you said integrity, one thing that came to me when you also use the word being is that earth is moving. It's at 100% integrity. That's why
mm.
if we are interacting, once it's lose its in integrity, and we know what can happen. So that gave me that, Ashutosh. So thank you. Any closing remarks or any closing comments if you want to share with the viewers? Feel free to go ahead.
No, first of all, thanks, Sagar, for inviting me to this wonderful platform, and thanks for giving so much time to me. Right, that means a lot to me. And I just want to share the about the yatra. I mean, it's happening in the month of November, 16th November to 1st of December. So if you are interested, you can still go and register for it. And if you have certain skills uh, through which you feel you can contribute to the yatra, you can always write to me, and we can see how we can bring you on the yatra. Secondly, with this center or this ecosystem we are building in Eastern UP, if you are interested in contributing to that, be it as a mentor or be it in some other capacity, if you yourself are an entrepreneur and you want to bring your venture to this place, we can offer you a sandbox to
Mhm.
experiment your ideas in that geography. You can be a mentor, as I said, and if finally if you have some connect with the corporate as well, you can always connect us, because we look for that type of support. So there are n number of ways to connect with Jagriti, both with the Yatra and with this Jagriti Enterprise Center Purvanchal. Feel free to write to me, and I would love to get in touch with you.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. And I also want to share with the audience that one big benefit, of course, there are many benefits that I have gained. The big benefit that I see people leveraging is the Jagrati groups, where I
Ah,
see constantly entrepreneurs, leaders, and people from entire India sharing their asks and receiving it. So I think, and that's a truly, I would say, when I see, like, of course, it's a core of the heart, or the core, it's physical, but then this is how I see leveraging it. Every day I get about for 3-4 messages or more than that. So yeah, just sort of putting it up. Yeah, thank you, Ashutosh.
thank
Bye.
you a lot. Yeah, bye.